Bump, 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 bump. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Unfiltered Experience with myself, Christopher Rausch, and
Scott Goyette, who was playing his phone and realized it's slightly out of sync when we start live, and it's going crazy.
Oh, that's what it was. I can hear music. I can hear music.
I was like, "Where's that noise coming from?" And it was coming from me.
I did it. It was coming out of your butt. Was your phone coming out of your butt? No, don't do that.
I was doing one final share, telling people to come visit us, and then I made a lot of noise. I do that.
Oh, dude, I'm like a busted chainsaw. You know me.
Yeah,
people are like all the time, like, Chris, damn, dude. So anyways, welcome guys to the Unfiltered Experience. It is your place where we have unfiltered conversations designed to move your perspectives and your confidence forward by just having great conversations with people here where you guys can join us in the conversation. So as always, be sure to ask us questions, engage with us in the comments section. We already got Randy in the house. What's up, kick-ass Randy? Thank you for being here, brother. Happy Friday. We're here every single Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Scott and I love to bring these conversations to you to expand our horizons and our opportunities for what it is that we can become and how we can shift the world to become a better place. So we appreciate you guys being here, whether you're live or on the replay. And as always, join our family at www.theunfilteredexperience.com. We would love to have you come join our Facebook community and jive with us there and help us all become brilliant souls. So how are you doing, Mr. Goyette?
I'm reflecting on what you just said. I'm trying to think of how to become a brilliant soul. I like that.
You already are.
That's the answer. It's almost like you're reading my mind. We are brilliant souls. We just need to remember, Chris. Yes. And I'd like to add in, all we have to do is believe that we are brilliant souls, which is reality. And in our return to that state, we just have what, Chris? We have to have no excuses. And what we want to do to get there is we want to go live now.
Go live now. I know. You gave me a bunch. I have to actually replace it now because this one is literally all black now.
I got a new one over here. Actually, I just gave it away at South by Southwest to
you gave me a whole handful when you were out here.
Sweet. I got it.
Yes. We already got some amazing people in the house. Got Mary Kay in the house, my sister from another mister. Got Ron in the house. He says, hello again, Chris. Good to see you and Scott. We got Joe in the house. Thank you, Joe, for being here. He says, hey, friends, happy Friday. Got Patricia in the house. What's up, Patricia? Says, good evening, you brilliant beings. Thank you for being here. You're brilliant as well. And I'm excited for tonight's conversation. It actually kind of goes in line with the book that I'm doing the book study on, which is, your body keeps score. And it says the brain, mind, and body in the healing of trauma. So I'm excited to have our guest on tonight. Oh, yeah. It's, by the way, happy belated birthday. So I must sing for you.
Oh, let's do this.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Scott David Goyette. Happy birthday to you.
Chris, I'm a multiplier of 3 and 17 now. I'm 51. My daughter's 15. And so that's 51 reverse. It just felt like a big year. Yeah.
Well, you're 51. I'm 53. It's like,
that's it.
See, I'm older than you. Have to respect me.
Okay. You can respect.
What you drinking? What you drinking?
I'm drinking a gluten-free beer. It's called Apollo Blonde. It's American Blonde Ale by Neff, and it's naturally gluten-free, so I don't get sick. Nice. And it's nice.
I gotta try that. I'm having sparkling water. Sparkling water. I'm giving my liver a break after Vegas.
I do that. I'm gonna go back to like my super healthy. I'm always playing basketball, doing sports in between, so I stay healthy. But the intake is important. I mean, you got to take in the good stuff.
Yep.
That's
all about what you bring in, what you put out. Want to acknowledge Darlene right here. She says can't stay for a minute, but I wanted to rock in and say hey to everyone. Thank you, Darlene. You are awesome. We appreciate you being here. Always go back and check out the replay. But happy Friday night. Have an awesome weekend. And Gary K says I'm 54, so both of you have to respect me. We always have to respect our ladies.
I feel good about that.
Of course. Yeah, and you're beautiful. I would never ever, and this is not even a compliment, I would never have guessed that she was 54.
No, I agree. You know what? What's beautiful is, and I know you guys are all seeing this, there's more and more people that I'm blown away at their age. And I do think, to the book you're reading too, the intersection of mind, soul, spirit, the whole thing, mind, body, and soul, mind, body, and spirit coming together. I see so many people that have a vibrance and it's a youthful energy. And I see the curiosity, the wonderment coming out in them. And I feel like it's almost kind of like people are blooming. Yes. So people that were, we said, this is the downturn. This is where we fall apart. People are realizing, no, this is the wisdom and the curiosity and the childlike wonder coming together. And we're going to finish this world strong. And there's more and more people like that. And man, I want to inspire more people to become that, because I don't feel older. My vehicle that I run around this world in, yeah, it's got a couple bumps and bruises and may not be 5 years
Bearings
old.
not need to be replaced.
Nah, a couple grease, like you need to be greased here and there, but and no comments here because I felt like you're going to say something stupid right then. But
you want to be greased, Scott?
There's a lot to live for in this world and a lot of beauty, and we can make all that happen. And we're not old; we're just older than we once were,
right?
But young.
Yeah, Bon Jovi says, "I'm not old, but I'm older." And I think to your point about, blooming, when we think back when we were kids, when you said somebody was 50, you thought they were fucking ancient. And it seems like a lot
really
of people look like that. I saw a lady on TikTok the other day. She's like, she's like doing something like guess my age or something like that. And I'm like, she's probably like 38 or something like that. She was 56. I was like, yeah. I mean, I didn't see her birth certificate or anything, but I think now there's so much of a youthful opportunity for us, because like I was telling somebody the other day, now at 50, I feel like I graduated the small school of life. Like I think I went through all that stuff to become the person I am today. And from this point forward, it's only just capitalizing on, exponential growth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's so much to live for. We're in such a beautiful world. And, to the point, the person we're going to be talking with today, there's so many reasons that for a long time, people started to age so quickly. And a lot of that is what we allowed to drag us down, the weight, the emotions, the negativity, that which gets stuck within us. And once we free that and we get that intersection of mind, body, and spirit being fluid, man, Chris, this is a beautiful world, isn't it?
Unstoppable, baby.
So who could help us?
You got to go love now. Who could help us?
We got to go love now. We have no excuses.
Yeah.
We got to be unscripted.
I think we need somebody who has some emotional intelligence experience who can help us talk about getting the trauma out of our bodies and our minds and our souls so we can live a little bit freer and lighter. So with that, we're going to welcome to the Unfiltered Experience, Miss Carla Sridevi Cohen. I hope I got that right.
You did.
Thank you very much. I was like thinking in my brain as Scott was talking, I'm like, okay, she said, okay. I always want to make it. So welcome to the Unfiltered Experience, my dear. How are you doing this evening?
Thank you so much. I'm great. And I got to say, I love the chemistry between the two of you, the banter. It's so great. I feel like I know you guys. I know you.
Yeah. That's what we do, because the whole thing with oneness, and we're coming from the same creator, and we're perspective points of source, and we're just reuniting.
Yep, exactly.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again too.
Yes. So welcome to the Unfiltered Experience, my dear. We appreciate you for being here, and we're excited about to jump into this conversation. And one of the questions we've been leading off with a lot recently is just kind of catching up with people and what experiences they've had during this COVID experience. The last couple of years, we've all gone through a tumultuous time of growth and inner reflections and things of that nature. What is this time done for you in your own personal growth and your journey for yourself and perhaps some of the people that you deal with, maybe your clients?
Wow, that's a great question.
Thank you.
For me, it actually gave me an excuse to be able to do some of my drop in deeper into my studies without the distraction that I would have normally. So one of the things, I think you saw my post about me going back to playing harmonium, which is for those who don't know, it's an Indian musical instrument. Returning to that, a little deeper dive on removing my emotional blocks, looking and seeing what was going on in my mind, and also how willing was I to allow myself to receive what the communication was that was coming across from the media and everything. How much of that did I want to let into my brain? And because let's face it, no matter what you believe, it did impact a lot of people with a lot of fear, right? Yep. And people are still experiencing that. And so I think what happened for me was I looked and I went, well, wait a minute now. I'm at this stage in my life right now, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what I want to do. And what this did was kind of like, how the gate is held closed before they let the raging bull out. Well, I wouldn't call myself a raging bull exactly, but it made me want to unleash that energy, whatever I've been holding back. Yeah.
What was that process for you?
For me, I do, the same things that I do with my clients, a lot of the same work on myself. If I see that I'm holding back on something, I know I have a way of identifying and releasing trapped emotions that I'm holding on to, because that's really the thing that holds us back. A lot of times we don't even know, like you're not moving forward, you're not doing anything, you have these goals and you don't even realize maybe that you're stuck. But, a good clue is, how are things reflected to you out in the outer world? What's happening to you? And if you don't see movement out here, if things are not changing, then there's something on the inside that, needs to be changed, shifted. And I was speaking with a woman yesterday, one of my clients, and it was interesting. I hadn't talked to her. It was an initial conversation. We did one exercise together, which I'm going to actually offer your viewers at the end of this broadcast today.
Yep.
And she got back to me and she said, it's so funny because since you worked with me, I don't have that feeling in my throat anymore where it felt constricted. And you're a real healer, aren't you? Yes.
Yep. I don't just play one on TV.
It came from a thought she had around money. So, yeah. So that's I do that for me too.
So Carla, can I play devil's advocate? You don't know me. You don't understand my situation. It's been a hard world. You're saying like that the world should be changing, but it's a scary world out there. It's horrible. It's always been this way. It's the human condition. I'm doing my best. Everything you just say sounds fluffy to me. So, and of course I'm playing devil's advocate here because I'm on your page. I'm just being this guy named Steve right now. So Steve, me being really upset. One of the things that really drives me crazy is when I meet all these people like you who keep saying, I can do this and all this woo-woo stuff, but I'm really hurting. It's all real. You don't understand me. How do you start with me, Steve?
So the first thing for me would be to really talk to you in depth about what it is that you're experiencing and do a little deeper dive to start to excavate what's really underneath that. Because that kind of hopelessness or that place where somebody feels like you can't possibly understand me or nothing's going to work for me, like what the idea is, I think sometimes to show people positive evidence of what can happen. Everybody goes through those periods in life where they get stuck and things don't seem to move, and we maybe feel hopeless, we maybe feel depressed or anxious, and we doubt that some of the things that seem to be working out there would really work for us. But you have nothing to lose. My attitude is you have nothing to lose but try, right? And if you don't want to try, that's okay. Stay where you are. You have a couple of choices. If you're happy where you are, great. Even if you're not happy where you are and you want to stay there, that's okay too. But if there's any part of you that would like to take that zip line out of there and see what's possible, then I'm offering you a hand. And let's do this together and see if we can open that up. And I know that I can. I work with, I don't even know, probably thousands of people to help them break through things that they were stuck on where they thought maybe they couldn't. Even just mindsets. We inherit our mindsets, right? They didn't just drop on us.
First 5 years of our life.
Can you go to that space? Because I mean, listen, Chris and I and you, we talk to so many different people. We know the same things that come up. Steve's obviously, a perfect example of somebody that we see nonstop. And those are people we very really work with because they won't really come to us. They show up and they say they want something, then they run away. What about that mindset piece? Because I think a lot of people get stuck in this space where they say, this is me, you don't understand. When I say that my identity, my mindset is reality, let's talk about that a bit, because mindset or my identity, we both know, the three of us know, that's not a reality. That's something that's been spoon-fed to us, and we call truth. Let's talk about that. How do we shift that mindset? How do we re-explore our identity and be willing to change that? Because that's scary. That's real scary.
I think, again, it's kind of like people who have, I don't know your history with either one of you, and I don't know Steve's history, right?
There you go.
But if we talk about a hypothetical Steve, it's the person who has to hit bottom like an alcoholic. I think you have to hit the bottom of the barrel where you recognize that what you're doing, where you're at, is not how you want to keep living the rest of your life. And you literally get to a place where it's like, okay, God, however, or whatever you want to call it, I let go. I surrender. I am open to being, helped, healed, changed, shifted. I know that where I'm at isn't working for me and I'm miserable. And I think it's like you have to get to that place of absolute burnout where you hit the wall.
Is that the only way? Because that's a really, very, really good point, because I know we've all seen people that a lot of times it's that tough love. You've got to let that person go to that space. And a lot of us are enablers with people that we care about, whether it's family, friends, that we're constantly giving a little bit. So they dangle at that space and then they go their whole life without actually reaching rock bottom to come back up. Is there a way, or do we, because this is a question I'm sure parents, friends with family members are asking right now.
Yep.
What do we have to let them hit rock bottom? What does that look like from a perspective of somebody who loves someone but does nothing? Or is there a way that we can be the light or help them change without hitting rock bottom? Because I bet that's an answer a lot of people want.
That's a great question. For me, my belief is that you really have to, it's like I believe that I meet people where they're at. I'm not going to try to shift them or make them change. The old, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, I don't think that that enabling somebody or trying to fix it for them teaches them what they need to learn. We all come here for, this is, elementary school, high school, college, whatever you want to call it, that we're all going through. We have to make a decision that we want to move on to the next level, just like we do in school, or we're going to stay there. We're going to keep getting those D's and going back and repeating 6th grade over and over and over again,
Yep.
And I think it's unfortunate that some people have to hit that wall and they may never have that awakening. I get a lot of clients who, unfortunately, I really choose to work with people before they get to that place where people will a lot of times reach out to me when they're already got 4th stage cancer. Wow. They've already manifested some other physical symptom that isn't going away. Maybe it's a really serious digestive issue or something else. And my experience is it would have been so great if I could have just worked with you back then, because we could have turned the tide.
Yes.
And it's never just a one thing answer. Like Christopher was saying earlier, there's all these different factors that fall into keeping somebody healthy and happy. But a lot of times that mindset is being driven by what's going on in somebody's diet, right?
Yeah,
we have, 26 chemicals in our, 62 chemicals in our body. And at any given time, anything that we eat, smell, drink, think, emote is going to change that chemical balance that's going on in our system. So once we get into that negative loop and we keep eating the same foods that are, taking us down, like I didn't realize for me, it took me, I had to go through my health crisis to recognize that, glutens were basically causing me to be depressed, making me want to sleep, making me feel sorry for myself, The more I added greens and fresh fruit, organic stuff, the more I got chemicals out of my body and out of my life, I started to really make some shifts, right? But I didn't realize the influence of all these other things on me.
I love that. I love that. Talk to us about, you just mentioned a health crisis. Talk to us about this journey that you've been on to get you to be at the place you're at. Talk to us about maybe some of the challenging times in your life that caused you to take this on and be passionate about it.
Well, I was working with A-list celebrities in Hollywood. I had finally reached what I thought was the dream job. And
Doing what?
I was doing what's called development, which is development executives are the people who develop stories for Hollywood. We do the script, we do the packaging sometimes with the talent. And then we may even take a raw little newspaper article that's this big and turn it into a story and then pitch it over to a film company or a network. So I loved what I was doing, but I was a woman in a man's world, and I felt like I had to work harder, better, to be successful, prove myself, whatever. And it ended up, I was working 70 hours a week, and that pace of never taking time off, never cutting myself any slack, all driven by the belief that I wasn't good enough, by the way, or inadequate, however you want to say it. Which I realized, later, right, part of my healing process. But I ended up in bed for 2 years. And by the time I went to the doctors, I had an elevated white blood cell count, a constant fever. And they were really stumped because these were very physical symptoms. They were showing up in the test, but they couldn't figure out what was causing the problem.
And how many people who are listening to this show or others have something like that where the doctors say the same thing. They say it's in your head. And the funny thing is, there's truth to that. It's in your spirit, into your physicality. And the thing is, they don't have an answer because we need to interweave the medical, the spiritual, and all of it. And they hand it off and go, not my job. Like, go look deeper.
Right. Well, and my doctor was a really good guy, and I think he really meant well. He really tried, but I think he was frustrated. At the end, he finally said to me, basically, I was already, he sent me home with, he said, well, we think you're depressed, so go home with these antidepressants, and this will, and you'll just have to sleep this off. And I thought in my head, what do you mean sleep it off? I'm already Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, I'm trying to get out of this tower here.
Yeah, here, take this. Here, take that.
Yeah, so that was actually, I did go home and take it, but it was, and I ended up feeling so crappy. I literally collapsed in the bathroom. Like I lost all, strength in my body, what little strength I had. And I recognized, and I just bawled my eyes out. And that was sort of my that was my reckoning, where I went, you know what, I'm not going to accept this. I cannot do this. I don't have the strength right now to figure this out, but something's going to help me. I'm going to figure this out. And that was the last prescription medication I took. And that was, it was over 30 years ago. So I've traveled all over the world. I've been to all kinds of countries where all kinds of things were going on. And I've chosen, because I've recognized too that my body is way more chemically sensitive than I realized. So including some of the things that we take, that we know about side effects with medications, but I didn't realize all the things that were really impacting me. And my body just couldn't handle it. It was too much input.
It's so true. It comes on slow. I mean, I have the same thing. I take Percocet right now for pain, and I found that my mood is progressively kind of not getting depressed, but I noticed I don't have the same enthusiasm and the same optimism that I did before I was taking them. I've been off and on them all over. So I started doing some research on it, and I found out there is actually a correlation between depression and opioid use. So we never know we're taking something for one thing, but because it comes on so gradual, unless you're aware and conscious of it, like I am, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, okay, the process of eliminating pain, but getting this is not worth it. So I'm actually going to go detox off it again. But I want to grab some of these comments real quick. We got some amazing people in the house. We got Ray in the house. This is Carla. We got Mary Kay in the house. I cannot pronounce that, but thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Lee says here, eliminating fear was the biggest factor I addressed with my clients during COVID time.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Joe Hutter's here. Thank you very much for being here, Joe. He's asking about self-doubt. What can we share with him about self-doubt as part of the conversation we're having?
Yeah. So Joe, I'm not sure exactly what context, but I'll do my best to just with that question. So self-doubt is also the result of some belief that we misinterpreted that got stuck in our system. And that's what I call a trapped emotion. So it can be, and there's a lot of trapped emotions. We have over 26 emotions that they've been able to identify. And most people, they live in the same 4 or 5 emotions over and over again. And they don't really hit the bandwidth of different emotions that we have. So it's like running that cycle. And what happens when I'm able to work with people, we can break that open and start to get you into the other range. So addressing self-doubt is just like any other thing that we're stuck on. It's basically there's some belief in there, and that belief comes from some emotion. So one emotion can cause as many as 10,000 thoughts. Ooh. So yeah, that's huge, right? So what happens is as I start to work with you to address the emotions as we go through them, and you start to resolve them, you lose 10,000 thoughts, as many as 10,000, right? So the brain starts to get quieter and quieter. And as we go into that quiet place, that's when we start to tap into our own divinity on a bigger level. Mm-hmm. We become more of who we actually are. But it's like, if you think of all these thoughts as like interference that keep us separate from our true nature, right? Because we really are powerful beings. We just don't know it all the time.
Carla, there's something that I share a lot. I just want to know your perspective on it. It actually goes right into what Joe's saying with self-doubt. One of the things that I find is that we limit ourselves with the word self so much, and we say Scott self, or self is me and the other people in my family. It's very limited. But if you take self and you extend that sense of self to everything seen and unseen in this existence, that we're all part of oneness, then the self-doubt becomes, well, how can I doubt when all this is going on because of that which created me, which is me? So if you're able to do that and extend the sense of self, the doubt literally starts to just dissipate organically with that belief. Does that make sense to you, or could you incorporate that into what you're teaching?
Yes, but what you're talking about, Scott, for most people is an intellectual understanding. And what I'm talking about is switching over from the intellectual into the physiological, where the two are so integrated that there's no question that you don't even have to think that. Because you just know that you know, right?
That's why I like breath work, because breath work, it's like you teach someone to meditate, there's still something you have to do. With breath work, if you just shut up and do it, you're like, I don't know what happened to me. And you're like, good, because you didn't have to think. It went full heart centric. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so, it's really staying out of the mind.
Good point.
And I did a lot of, I don't know if you guys caught that in my bio, but I taught breath work for years, right? And that was definitely a huge piece for me in terms of coming to the awareness that I'm at now.
But I like that because, that's a very good point. I'm always trying to help people get out of here and into here and get into that alignment. But sometimes you slide back in because they're asking to be taught or empowered or coached at that space. And one of the best things you can do is get them the hell out of here and into here. So I like that point. Good point.
Yeah. The mind is definitely can be. Oh, sorry, Christopher. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I was just going to say the mind, and I hate to use this word, but it can be really the enemy in a lot of ways because okay, so we have anywhere between 12 to 60,000 thoughts in a day. And of those, 80% are negative. This is just the way the brain works. This is based on National Science Institute research. It's not what I came up off my head. And 95% of those thoughts are repetitive. So we're just recycling that lack of belief over and over and over again until somebody holds the door. A lot of times we require like positive evidence. And if we can get some positive evidence and then we can repeat it, then we can start to really switch ourselves out of that groove, and that goes back to that self-doubt question too, by the way,
Nice. I love that. So me being the no excuses coach, talk to us about some of your clients and some of their major excuses and what you do to get them over those.
Nice.
Oh, well, they don't call it an excuse. They'll call it a symptom. Usually they come to me and they're like, well, first of all, they start with, I was diagnosed with, and I'm like, okay, first of all, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose. I do have clear sentient gifts, so I am able to actually literally feel into people's bodies and know what's going on in terms of what they're experiencing. But the physiological symptoms are a manifestation of some thought or belief that's stuck in the body. So there was one woman who came to me and she said, Helena, she was amazing. And she came to me because she was having some pain in her shoulder. And she also wanted to have some income opportunities come into her. She was just stuck. She wasn't pulling in any jobs. And it was getting to the point where she was kind of feeling a little desperate. So I did some work with her, and what happened was not only did we heal the pain in her shoulder, but her hips, by the way, which her doctor told her she needed to go in for surgery. So she, the last I heard, she decided not to do that because the pain level had gone down so much that she didn't need it. And she manifested a new job that has been a great income producer for her ever since we last spoke, and that was over a year ago. Yeah. So that's one example. My favorite story actually is John. John was on 19 different medications when I started working with him. He had experienced, I believe it was a car accident. So his whole right arm was numb. And it was kind of painful at the same time. So he was on pain relievers. He loved to play guitar. So he had to actually give up playing guitar because the pain was so much. It just wasn't working for him. And it made him miserable and depressed. And because he was so miserable and depressed, he was kind of angry and short. And it led to his wife divorcing him. So he pretty much had hit bottom in every which way.
Damn.
So by the time he came to me, 19 different medications, given up on pretty much everything, relationship gone, etc. We worked together over a period of time. I was able to get him off all of his medications. Yeah. He has no pain. He's back to playing his guitar. He's actually remarried now, and he has a completely different job than he did when we were working together. So there's another great story, and he was really a good one.
What did you do for him? Walk us through that process, if you can, a little bit, what you did with him, because that's fascinating. I mean, that's amazing.
I have so many tools.
Absolutely.
You know, I have over 30 different certifications in a variety of healing modalities. Everything from breath work to, I can't list them all. It's crazy how many things I know how to do. So I did some high frequency energy healing with him. I did essential oils. I do a lot of people know me as an essential oils expert, so I did work with that. But we did a lot of work on his belief process as well. His nutrition, we totally changed his nutrition, and his supplements he was spending so much money, but they were supplements that weren't really good supplements. So anyway, so that's the situation with him. And I was ecstatic to see him grow the way he did. He actually wrote a very long, I can't put it on my website because it's too long, but like a diary he sent me about what had happened for him from week to week, you know, and how things changed. So, yeah.
So I love what you're saying with the tool choices, and I bet Chris might be thinking the same thing too. So you got 30 tools, and you're trying to figure out which one, you know, is that something that's intuitive? It's just coming to you, you're feeling it. Are you trying, you know, a lot of it is it just, you know, frequent use, like, you know, this person reminds me of this person energetically, this worked for them. How are you choosing those tools? Because this is something as a coach, like what I do, you know, personally is I'll introduce them to 8 different tools. And in that tool, I'll be like, which one resonates most? Which one do you feel you need to work on? Are you being honest with yourself? So there's a process, but at the same time, you know, sometimes 2 months later, somebody goes, you know what I really needed was that 4th thing you said, and I was lying to myself, and it's been amazing. So how do you get them to that space to find the tool that actually produces the most healing?
It's a great question.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, it's definitely intuition for me, to be honest. I don't have a system per se that I listen. Mostly what I start with nowadays is I really start with the listening to what they say is going on, and then I make a decision about whether we're going to do a peace process on them or something I call emotional recoding, and work with them that way. I usually start with the emotions first. Unless there are a lot of red flags, I do always want to know what's going on in their diet, especially if they come to me with pain and inflammation as an issue. But most people are not interested in doing the work with their nutrition off the bat. They want the pain released first, which I can usually help them do. Not always, but 99.9% of the time, yes, we can, because a lot of these things are really, it's really about the emotion that's stuck in there in the belief system. And some of these things, I know this is going to sound crazy to some of the viewers and maybe even to you guys, I have no idea. But I've worked with people where there was an emotion or a belief that went back 55 generations in their body that they have no. I can't even relate to that. I can't.
How do you know that? How do you know 55 generations? How do you know that?
I do things. You know what kinesiology is? Muscle testing, right? So I will do a muscle testing process to see if it's inherited, what's going on with them, or it's something that came in maybe when they were during conception or in the womb. There's things that happen. There's so many different places along the way where things get put inside of us that we maybe don't need or want. So that's the answer to that. Yeah.
But to the point of like the 55, are you just saying you knew it was like a huge amount, or you can actually specifically delineate 55? Because I felt what you're feeling, where I'm like, I mean, you can just look back and listen to your family talk about history where they're like, there was this neurotic behavior. And it's like, you say it enough times, there's a neurotic behavior in this part of the family. Eventually, you're like, I must be a neurotic human. And eventually somebody says no more, and you've got to address that and attack it. But how can you go to 55 if that's, not just a number?
It's not just a number. It's literally muscle testing to find the answer. So once I've established that it didn't happen in this lifetime, I'm going to ask whether it was inherited. I'm going to ask whether it came from mom's side or dad's side, and then I'm going to literally start going through the numbers till I hit.
Yeah,
the right
you're talking through. You're literally doing like a muscle testing on.
I'm literally going through it, and I don't do it on them. I'm muscle testing on me. I do. I serve as what's called a proxy for them, because it's too hard to do it on other people. Besides, they wear out.
It's virtual, right? How do you do it virtual? That'd be hard.
Yeah. So again, I'm able to do that. I don't know. I can't explain how I do it, but I'm able to, again, maybe this is the clairsentient, but I know there are other people who can also do this too, where I can completely, I ask for permission to be their proxy, to be their representative for the session. And I literally muscle test on myself, and I make those determinations based on that. And I have charts and things that I go through to ask questions. I mean, it's very systematic in that way.
But what you just said too makes a lot of sense, because, an ayahuasquero, ayahuasca journeys used to be that you didn't do the ayahuasca, the shaman did the ayahuasca, and would literally convey, like, be a conduit or proxy for you to have the experience, but you never took the ayahuasca. It's more recent history that the receiver is taking it, and sometimes the shaman's not. They're guiding you, when it was the flip side of that. So it makes total sense.
Right. Yeah. Well, I didn't even know that, but yeah, that makes sense to me.
It does make sense, and maybe most people need to do ayahuasca. Just let the shaman do it for you.
Nice.
That probably would be good for some people.
for many.
Nice. Let me grab some of these comments real quick. We've got let's see, John's in the house. He actually understands what you're saying. I know that. So we got Jock in the house. This is better late than never. Good evening, all. Good evening, sir. Got Jacqueline in the house. Jacqueline Rose. She says, I have been running on empty for a long time. Meditation is the key to live a stress-free life. Yoga helps. Running, boxing. I use a kid's punching bag. You use kids as punching bags?
Well,
man, that is messed up. She goes on to say, I have lower back arthritis, hip arthritis, can't take painkillers because I'm stage 3 kidney disease. What can I take for pain that works? That's a great question, Jacqueline. Thank you.
So again, Jacqueline, I'm not the prescription police. I don't have, answers when it comes to taking things. I really work from the inside out. And I really, first of all, I want to say I have a lot of compassion for stage 3 kidney disease. That's a pretty intense place to be in, and my heart really goes out to you, and understanding the level of pain that you're in. And the arthritis is a long-term thing. All of these things, they don't happen overnight. This is why I wish people would come to me before they get to that stage. I'm not saying I'll turn you away, but it's just easier if we can be proactive, just like with our health, right? Instead of waiting till we have the heart attack to change our diet, But in terms of things that you can do, there are some essential oils. There are, detox baths and things like that you can take that are more gentle. Those would be some of the things that I would look at in a very gentle way. Also, maybe going to some healing waters. I don't know if you've done that, but mineral springs don't underestimate the power of going and soaking in a mineral spring. And if there's a way that you can access that regularly, I don't know where you live, but I just found one up in, it's not that far away from Southern California, called Mono Springs. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
You have to tell me about it since we're in the same neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Where's Jacqueline? Where's she live, by the way, Chris? Do you remember?
Jacqueline, I do not remember.
We'll have to double check. Jacqueline, throw where you live in, and we'll see if we can think of a place for you to go to.
Yeah, because I mean that could really help. But these springs there's like 5 or 6 springs, and they're not in Mono Lake. It's kind of it's like east of Yosemite, I want to say.
Oh, okay. So Northern California.
Yeah, it's back, and there's 5 or 6 different kinds of pools, all different temperatures. There's actually even a little place you could stay out with cabins. So if you look up Mono Springs Resort, look that up, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Very cool, very low key cabins. Very, it's very, it's not posh.
Rustic, right? Yeah.
Yeah, rustic. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So, but I would say going and soaking would be really good, and also looking at, I don't know what you're doing in terms of alkalized water. Maybe what you're drinking would be really good, because we want to take all the load off the kidneys. That's the main thing. So anything that might create more stress on the kidneys is going to create more inflammation in the body.
And I know you're going to say the same thing, Carla, but a lot of people, it's almost crazy, but I hear so many people have certain diseases or whatever, and they're still taking ibuprofen or things that the kidneys can't process. And I know a lot about this because, what was his name for the San Antonio Spurs? He either passed, he had a lot of issues. because he was just taking ibuprofen all day long and destroyed his kidneys. And, you know, we're sitting here doing everything else healthy, but that one thing is just not able to be processed through the kidneys. And it gets to a point where you're trying to reduce inflammation, but you hurt yourself somewhere else. And so it's hard to juggle all that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, Tylenol, all these things that people think is no big deal. It's like, it's a big deal. Your body is way more sensitive than you realize. And, you know, coffee, here's another thing. It's huge. I'm sorry, but there's things, one of the main ingredients in coffee, even when it's organic, can be, I forget the, oh geez, I just blanked on it. It's perchloroethylate. There it is.
Can you spell that?
Yeah, it's a dry cleaning chemical. Okay,
Oh,
and it's used to process the coffee. And so that's putting a load on the kidneys. That's creating inflammation in the body. Because people, a lot of times people are like, I don't know, I do everything really well. You know, I don't know why I'm experiencing inflammation. I'm like, inflammation comes because, you know, we are putting something in that's irritating our body over and over and over again. It doesn't just show up, right? So how does that happen? Usually diet is the biggest thing. The emotions, definitely. You know, if we're feeling anger, resentment, fear, you know, that's putting a load on the system as well. And so when we start to get this buildup of inflammation inside, the nutrition that we're eating doesn't even get through anymore. It starts bouncing off the wall because the wall of the gut gets like a mucus membrane on it. And the nutrients can't get through anymore. And the inflammation literally comes from the nutrients going bang, 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 bang. You know, I can't get to where I'm supposed to go.
I've never heard it said like that. That's awesome. So what are your thoughts on, Scott talked about ayahuasca, but what are your thoughts on like CBDs and cannabis and other alternative modalities in that respect?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is where you'll see a little bit of my conservative side, you know. I think that I'd rather people don't do that because I still think you're substituting for a lot of these things. It's substituting one kind of drug for another kind of drug when we actually have the ability to heal. You know, as I said earlier, 62 chemicals in the body, we can change things. You know, I remember, this is a weird story, but anyway, I was at a party and I was not drunk. I was with a bunch of doctors. We were outside by a swimming pool. And I pulled a bottle of wine out of this ice chest. And for some reason, it slipped right out of my hand and it landed sideways on my foot. And literally, you know how hard it is to crack a bottle in half when you want to? But it cracked on my foot, right? So there was a lot of blood gushing out of my foot. And there were, you know, as I said, there were some drunk doctors and they're like, yeah, well, we could probably stitch it up. You know, where's the fishing line or whatever? I'm like, no, you're not touching me.
Staple gun, Steve.
Steve's got to be good for something.
So I said, look, just take me to the emergency room, you know, because I knew that I need stitches, right? So they took me to the emergency room and the doctor, before he started stitching me up, he goes, look, we got to put anesthetic in you because, you know, this is going to hurt. And I'm like, no, I don't need anesthetic. You know, my body is producing an anesthetic right now. So I actually don't need you to do that. And he didn't believe me. I said, really, I'm okay. He goes, well, we'll keep it by here just in case. Look at the needle. So he was able to sew me up. And I literally, you know, I felt a little pinch, right? But it wasn't like I was okay. I didn't feel it. And I've had that experience before. I don't know, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever walked on fire. Has either of you done that?
I have not.
Okay. So Scott
started fires.
Yeah.
Started fires, walked on fires, caught on fire. Yeah, I'm there. I'm with you.
Rock star.
No, I'm just a little ridiculous. That's all. Keep going.
Well, anyway, some years ago, I went to this event. It was a healers camp, and it was a bunch of all healers all gathered together to help each other elevate. And I didn't know that one of the things they were going to do was do a fire walk. And when I heard about it, I was like, I'm so not interested, you know. You guys go have a good time. Bye. And but anyway, there was a point, and I won't go into the whole story because we don't really have time, but where I really felt the fire was calling me to walk. So just before I was 3 people away from the head of the line, I envisioned a block of ice across the fire. So that when I walked, it wouldn't burn me. And literally, when I walked across, all I felt was ice. I didn't have any experience of any. Now, other people got burned. I'll tell you that they really did. What was interesting for me was later on, we were sitting in the cabin with a few of the people who had walked just before me. And they said, the funniest thing happened. When I walked across the fire, I felt cold. It was like I was walking on ice. And I'm like, holy crap, they felt my visualization.
That's some energy.
Yeah. So it's like, we don't recognize, again, going back to how much power we have inside of us, right? We have no clue. And again, it speaks to the ability to be able to produce whatever it is we need to produce when we need to produce it,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm 100% every time. I wish I was, because if I was, I'd be already awake that I am, God in this other form, whatever.
Sure.
I haven't gotten to that point, but when I can look back and I've got some positive evidence that shows me I'm on the right path, then I just keep going there. Right.
So that's a beautiful thing too, that awareness is step one, because here's the deal. Like, I can preach this stuff all day. I can read the book. I can explain the book. I've got some modalities that have, done things that some people would say are miraculous. But at the same time, there's moments where, someone meets me in a certain part of my life. They're like, you're the guy who teaches that? I'm a mess. And that's, I think, the beauty. But think of this. If we built this world, we collectively as conscious creator, if we built this world with limits to have containments, to have, create some structure, it only makes sense that fire bad, don't walk on it. Needle in body hurt, don't do. Like, it makes sense. But if it's a time that it's self-repair, or for just to set an example, like, I don't want to get hurt now, I'm going to move across at a certain pace. Or, Jarek Robbins, Tony Robbins' son, does the thing with the arrows that I was there, where you put the arrow in your neck and you push forward, it breaks, but it could go through your... Like, I look back, I'm like, we drunk for that one? But, but it breaks. But it's a lot of it is a certain position. I understand, like, the whole thing worked. But if I moved or if I leaned wrong, it's sticking through my neck. It's stupid. But it literally is a mind over matter thing. There's literally no limits. But as we go from awareness to old identity mindset, and we shift into a place of limitlessness, we're still here on Earth. So let's talk about that. Even as somebody who has stepped into, a higher frequency and may vibrate from place to place, how do we get the next person to come in, and how do we show them that we're all human on this, evolution of, moving to higher frequencies? Because, sometimes somebody might see me, like I said, and say, but you're not that. And I'm like, I'm human. I'm not saying I'm always here.
Right.
So, twofolds, I guess. How do we show people that that's part of the process, that you're still going to be human? You'll elevate, but you'll move back and forth. And two, how do you get that person to go to you without judging you, because you are human?
Well, people will judge.
True.
It's just the way, it is the nature of human beings, and
they look for your weakness.
Yeah, and it's okay. I have people who've seen me in some pretty low places, and they still come back for more coaching and more healing work. And I think the best thing we can do is just be authentic, and walk the path,
Love that.
And be in integrity, right? Like, not speak one thing and do something else. That makes me crazy.
Yeah, hypocrisy and congruency, right?
Yeah.
Mark Gassert's in the house. He's like saying, great show, Chris, Carla, Scott. Remember, the Unfiltered experience is open to all. It's an equal opportunity experience.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark, for being here,
Mark.
brother. From Peachtree, Georgia. Appreciate it. He says also here, modality is a cool word. Yeah. So Mark is the modality of awesomeness in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. There you go. Damn, we've already been talking for 50 minutes. I have one final question before we're going to ask you how people can get a hold of you. This might not be a simple question or a simple answer, but I'm feeling called to ask it. When we're thinking about the conversation tonight and the body-mind correlation, when I'm thinking about when I'm studying in this book, PTSD, what are your thoughts when patients come to you with PTSD? What are some processes that you may go through to help them kind of release some of that stored up stress?
Probably again, it would depend on what I feel from the person. I'm most likely going to walk them through something I call the peace process, where I actually have them get in touch with one of the key feelings that they're experiencing in their body and walk them through resolving that. So, and that is, it's an amazing experience because a lot of times people go, well, are you talking therapy? No, it's not therapy. It's actually faster because
Nice.
we're not having to go through the cerebral cortex, the thinking part of the brain. We're actually going straight, as we talked about earlier, Scott, right into the body. Like, what's going on here? Let's take it down to this, because all of that stuff, once we make peace here, it shifts everything up here. And all this stuff that's going on with that trauma comes from what's being stored in here.
Do you have a particular example of somebody who's come to you with a certain case of PTSD that you could share?
Oh goodness, there's so many people. I'm trying to think of. There was one woman who she had an experience at her office where they were. The word I would use is kind of bullying her. She's the only female. It was an all-male, pretty much all-male organization. She's in an industry that is dominated by men with technology. And every time she would start to go into her office, she would kind of have I'll call it an anxiety attack, really. Yeah. She almost had to turn around and wanted to go home. And in her situation, I just talked to her and I said, well, where do you feel that in your body? And then I worked with her to make peace with that particular location until she was able to go in. And she literally, it's like night and day. And what was interesting for me too was everything around her changed in her work after we did that exercise. Like once we healed that, she got transferred into a different department. I just find this so fascinating, because if you ever need proof that what you manifest here is going to change out there, that was like, right in my face, right? It showed me.
So hold that right there, because that's something that I don't know if people fully conceptualize, and I've learned that over the last 5 years, especially in coaching, where I've seen it and then it comes back into my life. People think, well, I might fix this, but the world is still a mess. But once you learn the lesson, once you heal that piece, you literally get moved from the lesson. And I can see this. I've got a client who was in the military who has had all this crap like going on. She was about to quit the military, and she said, I'm not going to quit the military. I'm going to stay within the system and heal it, because she fixed what we were talking about. And now she's happier than ever. But she was stuck in that place for so long. So, like, talk about that. Like, how do we get people to believe once they lean in to that lesson, on the other side, there's so much beauty? Because that's a hard thing to express and explain to people who are in the middle of it.
Yeah. I don't think you can get them to believe. I think it's, again, it's if they're willing to have the experience, they're willing to join hands, like link arms and let you walk them through. And then they have their own experience. And that's the most powerful thing. And then they want to share that with somebody else. And if somebody's been watching them, that's how you start to change things, because usually they have friends around them that are either, as Christopher was saying earlier, that are maybe enabling them and keeping them in that mindset, maybe giving them more evidence about why they're right and they should stay that way and keep believing that. That's one of the biggest poisons we have, right? Is that we will keep drinking that poison water over and over again, because we will attract people around us who support that belief system, even if it's dysfunctional. Right. And so we have to wake up. We have to be willing to wake up. And the only way to get out of that poison mindset is to have that resolution. And then you'll also start to see your friends differently. Right. Yeah. Because now it's like, okay, suddenly I just don't have that same feeling towards so-and-so anymore, because now I'm so different inside. Something shifted. Yeah.
Boom. Carla, you are amazing. Thank you for being here. I can't believe we've already been talking for 53 minutes. You're awesome. And you said you had a particular offer. I'm going to put the code up here in the comments for people to click on that. But why don't you tell us about the offer you have for our friends tonight?
Yeah. So for those of you who just want an easy introduction and you're not quite ready to, get to know me, you can just go to getcarlasbook.com. And you can do a free download of a book that I have. It's a free PDF, and it'll give you some great steps in there. And for those of you who are like, okay, I'm ready. I'm really ready to do more. I'm curious about what Carla can offer me. If you want to learn how to, allow me to help you locate at least one limiting belief that you're holding on to, I'll help you rewire it. I'll help you move forward with that. You'll have a clear direction about where you're going to go. Then you can go to eqmindshift.com and book a session there. And these sessions are normally $395. So I believe this offer, if you put in, just type in your information. It should be fine. You should be able to book an appointment with me on Calendly. And I believe it cuts the offer in half if you just type in save 175 in there. So you can take a look at that.
Nice. Thank you for that. Thank you for doing that for our listeners. Where can people get a hold of you? I have some of your links. You gave me about 10. I have some of your links up here. But where are some places that people can get a hold of you?
Best places, the Facebook lifestyle is great. You can connect with me on Facebook. You can Women's Health Revolution on Instagram if you want to find me there. Women's Health Revolution TV, yeah, you can go there. Those are some old shows. I had a show for a little bit, and but Instagram's great and Facebook is great. LinkedIn's also great if you want to connect with me on it's easy enough to find me on LinkedIn. So
you and I are connected there.
I love talking to people. So if you want to know more, you have questions about something I said today, or just please feel free to reach out to me. You can go to my website. You can fill in a contact form and contact me that way as well. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Carla, thank you so much for being here. You're a rock star. We're going to put you backstage. We're going to close out the show. Don't go anywhere so we can talk with you afterwards. But thank you for being here. You're a rock star. You're a rock star. Get your game on. Go
play. Hey,
what do you think, Mr. Goyette? Conversation right up. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I mean, listen, we've had a few guests who have talked about, getting unstuck, the idea of emotional management. And this was fantastic. And it's fun because everybody's brought a slightly different twist to it. And I think one of the most important th's, that Carla's saying is just really just expressing the reality that from the mind, I love the fact that the pushback that she gave me, because I'm always talking about the cerebral stuff, because I know how to go from here to here, but she's got such a good point. So many people are stuck up here to move them down there. Like, I mentioned breath work, or she's doing, I think she called it emotional. There was another technique modality she shared, but any of that stuff that gets you from here to here so that you can heal here. Listen to that story about the woman in the office who's coming in and almost having an anxiety attack. I'm sure that she's worked with people who can move them through those processes. And there's so many of us who are having the friend who keeps going, well, it's your own fault for working there, whatever, like all the shit that we put ourselves in.
Right.
We've got to embody the change, and then it can come into here. So I love it. I love what she said. I'd recommend going to check her out if it seems like something that's a fit for you. Super cool. Thanks for getting her, Chris. It's wonderful. Thank you, Carla.
You did.
No,
she was referred by somebody
No, it wasn't. Who was it from?
Yeah.
Which friend of mine was it? Hold on.
I think it was Michelle. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, it could have been. Yeah. It could have been.
I don't know. We'll find out.
That's a cool thing, because we're nice to people, and then people want to come be with us.
Exactly. Well, I put that out there every single show. I'm like, if you guys know of a guest, or somebody or a topic that you want to have you on here, which I'm going to say now, if you guys know of a guest or a topic that you want here on the Unfiltered Experience, reach out to Chris or Scott and let us know. And we'd be happy to entertain that conversation to have them on here. Whatever subjects you guys want to have on here, we would be welcome to having those as well. And I think for me, Scott, the theme for the day and the conversations that I've been having is accepting ownership and responsibility, but also just having an open awareness and open mind to try different things. For me, it personally, like in December, I could barely walk. I was in excruciating pain, but I took responsibility for it. I said, I think a large majority of it is the fact that I've been eating bread, eating cookies, eating candy, drinking alcohol. I was enjoying myself. And normally that doesn't have such a big impact on me, but all of a sudden I was like, the inflammation just caused so much pain. January 1st, I was like, okay, eliminating all that stuff. Within a couple of weeks, I was walking better, and then started feeling way better by February. It was crazy because, if you guys have never heard of the book Wheat Belly is an amazing book. It talks about the genetic modification of wheat and corn and how it never went through the U.S. Agricultural Center. It was crazy. I read just like a quarter of that book, Scott, and I was just blown away. To her point, like when you're eating stuff with wheat in it, it has tiny little barbs on it. Literally, not my wife, but and they go and it actually scratches your internal linings, and that scraping causes the inflammation. So You know, it's really important for all of us to keep our minds open, keep our perspectives open, and try new things, and give them, and not just try them for a couple of days. Give things like 3 months, give things 6 months, and see what they do. Because on the other side of missing out on sugar, there's so many different alternatives and ways that you can satisfy a sweet tooth. But at the end of the day, you know, you're fulfilling that longevity principle of what you're here to do and how healthy you want to be doing, how healthy you want to be while you're doing it. So I love the conversation. I'm actually going to hit her up for that conversation and see how it goes.
I love it. And to your point, and I'd love to let everybody sit and think about this for a minute. Give things time. You know, it took a lot of time to get to where you were. So if it's, you know, puffy belly, overweight, mind's not feeling right, not lack of clarity. I mean, listen, like stopping sugar for a week might get you to a slight shift, but try stopping it for 21 days for a habit shift or a full lifestyle shift at 90 days. You will see such a difference. I promise you. But here's the thing. Most of us say, yeah, but we got this coming up, or I'm going to that birthday party, or well, I'll just do this. And it's an all or nothing thing. Lean into something, do it, commit to it, and you will see the results. But that comfort you're feeling from that addiction, whether you call it that or not, is holding you back. I promise. Make the change, lean in. We got you guys. We love you.
Yes. Do we love them? Do we love these people, Scott?
That's why I come here.
That's
I'm here for the love.
Yeah. Let me see if I can figure out who we have next week real quick so we can kind of give a plug for that. Who do we have on the show next week?
You said it to me earlier.
Let's see.
Dan Fail, isn't it?
Do we have Santa Claus? Yeah, we got Dan Fail.
Dan Fail.
He fails at everything.
He fails at everything. If you want to come hear a failure, come listen to Dan Fail. He's actually not a failure. That's the irony of his name. He spells it with 2 L's just to confuse you.
Does he?
He really does. Double L.
I don't think I've never noticed that.
Double L. I'm pretty sure because I looked at him like, did he spell it wrong? Is he that much of a failure? But I think it's the right way.
We love you, Dan. All right, guys, go out there and be awesome. Be sure to check us out at www.theunfilteredexperience.com, www.theunfilteredexperience.com. Come check us out on Facebook, join the group, join the family, join the conversation online. We appreciate and love each and every one of you guys, all the beautiful people in tonight. We got Ellie Nicole. She dropped by for a moment. Jacqueline Rose, Mark Gassard, Jock Brokus, Ron,
Mary. We had so many good people. Beautiful.
Yeah,
people.
Margaret. I missed that. Margaret, thank you for being here. Mary Kay, Lee, all you beautiful people, Ray, Patricia, Darlene, you guys are all awesome. Randy, we love you guys. You're part of our Unfiltered family, the Unfiltered crew. We will see you here next time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Friday night. We love you guys. Go out there and be brilliant, and we'll see you next week.